This is the first video in a series on how to complete data analysis for an IB Physics lab report. This is SL, the level that I teach, but you can use these same methods in HL as well. Now, let's say I have this experiment where I've selected masses. Who knows what it actually was, the experiment? I've just made something up. And I have these values of mass, which I selected. That was my independent. I recorded the resulting velocity, and maybe this is final velocity, so it's v, not u. And for every mass, I did the trial 3 times, I did the experiment 3 times, and I have 3 trials. So this is the first trial, here's the velocity, here's the second trial's velocity, here's the last. The first thing I need to do is, this is not enough for my column header. I need to make mass, comma, the variable, and then I need to tell the units that it was in. So I look and I see it was grams for my experiment. Then I need the uncertainty, the absolute uncertainty. So I do insert symbol. I find the plus or minus. So let's say you're at the very, very top of the symbol chart. Click down here once, and it's the third down, far left. Insert, close. Plus or minus, I look at my data, and it's 0.03 grams was the uncertainty. Now I want to italicize m because it's a variable. So I highlight, and then I do Control-I, and now it's italicized. But I still have this ugly looking, it's not even all the way shown, not all of this is shown. And if I double click here, it does this fancy thing. But I want to show this on 2 lines maybe. So you go to Home, Wrap Text, then you make this smaller, and then double click on this line showing the column height, the cell height. And now it's on 2 lines. So I want to center and center there. Maybe I make this a little bigger. Okay, V. Now look, this is the average velocity, and I have different trials, right? 3 trials. So I'm going to right click. I'm going to right click on the one and insert a row. And I'm going to put final. I'm typing with one hand here. Velocity. Oops. Velocity. And that has units of, the variable is v. Units I measured in were meters per second. In the uncertainty, I look and I say it was plus or minus 0.02 meters per second. Okay, then I want to italicize v. I'm going to do the same thing, except I want this to occupy all 3 of these cells on top. So I go to Home, Merge and Center. And then I double click between D and E to make that, oops, that was not good. So instead I extend these out. Now I want this to occupy both of these cells, so I highlight them, Merge and Center. Okay, then I'm going to say trial 1, trial 2, trial 3. I center all of these, I center vertically. Right? Then I want to add some nice pretty borders, so I highlight these, I right click here, outside border. And I want to add a border here, and a border on this one, and this. All of these are individual borders. Right? And then I add a border here, I want to add a border for this column, and I add a border for each of these others by column. And I want to see my borders, so I right click on the A, I insert a column, I right click on the one, I insert, and then I'm just going to make these small so I can see the borders, and then now it looks pretty. When I copy this into my Word document, I'll Control-C this thing. Okay. Now what you need to do is create an average velocity column where you average these 3 values, right? And that'll be here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put my mic down for a second and just plug in what I want to see. Average velocity, my variable is VAV. I make my AVG subscript, I italicize my variable, but I'll do that in a second. My units are meters per second, right? Like that. I highlight AVG, I do the arrow next to font, subscript, OK. Then I highlight all of this, Control-I, Enter, And now I'm going to double click between F and G on that little line to put it like that. But maybe I don't want it that big, so I merge and center. And now when I bring this in, it's on 2 lines. Oops, no it's not, because I have to do wrap text. There it is. And this equals, I'm going to use an equation, but I have to show the work in a sample calculation where I actually calculate the average. For one of these independent variable values, one of these masses, I have to calculate that average and show that I know how to calculate it once. I add my border, I add a border here. Well, wait, no. I want this to all be one cell, so I click merge and center. Then I add that border. Okay. My sig figs are all off on these, right? Each of these should have 2 decimal places, because that's the precision of my uncertainty. My uncertainty is in the hundredths place, so these should each have 2 decimal places. So I highlight these cells. You can right-click and then do Format Cells, and then choose number, and then choose the decimal places. Or if you have a PC, you can use this button, which adds decimals. So now I've clicked it twice, and all of these have 2. These must all have 2 decimal places, because that's where my uncertainty is. So I right-click. Oops, that was too many, so I take 1 away. These all need the same sig figs as each of these. These all have 4 sig figs, so this should have 4. Likewise for every column down, every row down. So I just decrease until I have 4 sig figs total. I center my cells. There it is. Then this next column needs to be the uncertainty in each one of these averages, because it's different. So I do uncertainty in average velocity, and I'll give this the variable insert symbol, find your delta sign. If you start at the top, you go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and it's there in the middle after going 10 down. Double click, close. This is uncertainty in V average, but you know what? Come over here and just copy this, highlight, Control C, and then Control V, and it doesn't copy the formatting. Okay, so then you subscript this, go to Home, Font, Arrow, Subscript, then you make all of this italics. We want to make this occupy a single cell, so you merge the cells in center, then you wrap text, and now you adjust the column. Uncertainty. Maybe I want to go ahead and type out uncertainty. Okay, now it's looking good. Give it a box, borders. This uncertainty is max minus min over 2. So I have to go in and plug in max, it's that cell, minus min over 2. And I show this, of course, in a sample calculation. I'm going to go ahead and copy this down. But look, I have negative uncertainties. That's because the max is not always in this column, and the min is not always in this column. So I have to go through and find the max, find the min, and adjust these. So this is the max, that is the min. For this next one, the max is blue, that's this. The min is this one, so I move them. Right? And you do this for all of these, and I'm going to pause the video and do this process for all of these. So I've gone through now, and I've individually selected, changed all of those cells around, so that the max and the min are properly selected, and you see it changes, right? Because the maxes weren't all in trial 3. Sometimes the max was trial 2 or 1. Okay, I highlight these, border, center. Uncertainty, absolute uncertainty, which is this column. Uncertainty. Maybe I should do absolute uncertainty. Show that I understand this to be the absolute uncertainty. It can only have 1 sig fig. That's the rule we use here in IB at the high school level. That rule of only including 1 sig fig might change. In fact, in college you can use 2 sig figs for uncertainty, absolute uncertainty, which is calculated using statistical means, such as the half-range method that we've used here. But for now, let's just keep things simple. So you round all these to 1 sig fig, and then you want to make sure they're all rounded to the same place. So that got rounded up. This is rounded to 0.4. And maybe what you decide is that you want to estimate or round up always. So if the uncertainty you calculate is 0.31, then maybe you decide that you'd rather round that up to 0.4 than round it down to 0.3, because 0.3 is too low. That's okay for you to do, as long as you explain that process in your report. So, whoops. So this, I'm going to round this up to 0.1 so that it has the same precision as all these other uncertainties. And I'm going to do that because 0.05 seems a little low. If I have other uncertainties such as 0.4 and the average, then this seems low, so I'm going to round it up. This goes to 0.2, 0.2, 0.3. This gets rounded up, and so does this. So now I've rounded these, I've got this, and this is a beautiful looking chart. I can copy this whole thing and paste it straight into my lab report. I've got the absolute uncertainty and the average values, and the average velocity, and all the trials shown nice and neatly here. The next thing you do is you add some graphs, data analysis graphs. Right? So I'm going to move over to sheet 1 where I've already added these, and we're going to look at some of the data analysis next.